Guys, tell me why this radar dish was still turning, even though the place looked like it hadn't had power in 30 years? Okay, hear me out, I know how this sounds. Some Cold War conspiracy, old radar tech glitching out in the woods, right? But if you've ever felt time bend around you, like your watch hiccuped and your body knew something was wrong before your brain could catch up, then you might get it. Because what happened to us out there? I can't explain it. And I don't think I'm supposed to. It started like any dumb college weekend trip. Just 4 of us, me, Leah, Josh, and Mark, heading out into the forest north of Kusamo, right near the Finnish-Russian border. Leah had found some obscure mention online of an abandoned Soviet radar installation buried in the woods, just off a decommissioned hiking trail. Supposedly it had been shut down in the late 60s after technical failures. Yeah, technical failures. You'll see. Josh was the skeptic, always rolling his eyes. It's probably just a shack with a rusty antenna, he said as we ducked under low-hanging pine branches. Mark had his 35mm camera slung around his neck, eager to find Cold War aesthetic decay. Leah, definitely the bravest of us, was all in, fueled by urban explorer blogs and a craving for weird history. And me? I just wanted a cool story. Well, I got one. The trail we followed wasn't even on our map. It split from the main route near an old concrete mile marker covered in moss. Leah spotted a break in the trees, a narrow dirt path lined with birch. We followed it for maybe 20 minutes, then hit a barbed wire fence that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. It sagged in the middle, and some of the posts had rusted clean through. Someone, or something, had already made a hole wide enough to squeeze through. Looks like it wants us to come in, Mark joked. We laughed, but it was nervous. The kind of laugh you do before stepping into somewhere wrong. As soon as we crossed the fence, the temperature dipped. No joke, it was like walking into a fridge. The sun was still up, but the light felt duller. Muted. Like we were watching daylight through an old CRT screen. And then we saw it, the radar dish. This massive metal relic, easily 20 meters wide, perched on a skeletal tower that groaned in the wind, but here's the thing, it was moving. Slowly. Creaking side to side like it was scanning the forest. The kind of movement that says, automated system, but the building below it was crumbling, concrete cracked open, windows busted out, ivy crawling through seams in the walls. No way this place has power, Josh muttered, shading his eyes. Then why's it turning? I asked. Nobody answered. We crept closer. The radar station sat on a small hill, surrounded by busted chain link and overgrown bushes. A few signs in Russian warned about electromagnetic radiation. The outer door had been pried open years ago. Rust flaked off the frame like burnt paper as we passed through. Inside was like a time capsule. I'm not kidding. The walls were lined with peeling maps, yellowed memos, Soviet insignia. Papers still sat on desks. Coffee mugs, actual ceramic cups, were on the tables, long dried out but untouched. And every single analog clock in the place, wall clocks, desk clocks, even a pocket watch on a metal table, they were all stuck at 2:03. Not 2:02. Not 2:04. Every one, 2:03. Okay, that's weird, Leah said, her voice lower now. Mark was snapping photos, but the flash kept glitching, his camera made this soft, mechanical wheeze before every click. We explored in silence. There was a humming in the air, low, constant, just at the edge of hearing. Like standing near a transformer. I thought it was my ears playing tricks until Leah stopped and said, "Do you guys hear that? That tone?" Josh nodded slowly. It's coming from the dish, maybe? Then the sky flickered. It was quick, less than a second, but the sunlight outside dimmed, like someone ran the forest through a film reel backwards. We all looked at each other. That's when I felt the déjà vu. A full-body jolt, like I'd been here before. I knew the smell of the mold in the air, the way the dust floated in beams of amber light. I even knew Mark was about to say, "Guys, this is gonna sound nuts, but I swear I've seen this room before." Exactly that. Word for word. We were quiet for a beat too long. Then Leah turned toward the stairs. "Control room's probably up there. Might explain the humming." We climbed the narrow stairwell, steps groaning under our weight, paint peeling off like snake skin. At the top was a heavy steel door with a reinforced window. It had shattered from the inside. Shards of safety glass crunched beneath our boots as we entered. And there it was, the control room. The origin point. A semicircle of consoles, gauges, analog switches, and blinking red lights, still blinking, somehow. Even though the mainframe was half exposed, wires snaking out like vines. Screens flickered with static. One radar scope still swept clockwise in slow, shuddering movements. And on the desk in the middle, was a set of watches. 4 of them. Our watches. At least, they looked exactly like the ones we were wearing. Leah reached out. "This can't." Beep. Her digital watch chirped. So did mine. So did Mark's. So did Josh's. We all looked down at our wrists, and froze. The display showed a new time. 1:58 p.m. "What the hell?" Josh whispered. It was 4 o'clock a minute ago. No one spoke. We just stared as the minutes ticked backward. 1:57, 1:56. Mark backed toward the door. "Guys, we need to go." As we stood frozen in the control room, surrounded by a past that was still breathing, our watches all blinked in unison, 1 p.m. exactly, and then stopped. Not paused. Not lagged. Stopped. Everything went silent. The hum, the static, the wind outside, gone. Like the world hit pause, but we were still playing. We walked in at 3 p.m. We walked out, and somehow, it was noon. I'm telling you guys, it didn't make any sense. We were only inside that control room for maybe 10 minutes. 20 at most. But when we stepped back out onto the stairs, the light had changed. Like it was earlier in the day. Brighter. Softer. The long shadows had disappeared. Josh looked up at the sky through a broken window and muttered, "That can't be right." Leah pulled out her phone, tapping at the lock screen. "It's 12:08 p.m. Mark held out his wrist. Our watches said 4 o'clock before. We didn't all just imagine that. I looked at mine. The screen had stopped blinking at 1:00 p.m., but now it showed 11:59 a.m. And the second hand? Spinning backward. Guys, I'm not exaggerating. The second hand was literally ticking in reverse. Like time was rewinding, just for me. We stepped outside the building and were hit by silence. Not peaceful silence, wrong silence. No wind. No birds. The trees were perfectly still. Even the buzzing in the air was gone. Mark waved his hand in front of his face like he was checking for a migraine aura. Is anyone else getting that thing? That pressure? Like cabin pressurization? We were all feeling it. That weird inner ear sensation. Like time was too thick around us. Like it was warping. We gathered at the bottom of the hill, unsure what to do. Leah started pacing. Maybe there's some kind of electromagnetic field screwing with our heads. Like radiation or... Josh cut her off. No. No, this is past science. This is, like something broke. He gestured at the radar dish, which was still turning slowly, metal creaking in rhythm, like it had a pulse. That thing's drawing power from somewhere, and I guarantee there's no active line feeding it. Leah crossed her arms. So what are you saying? I'm saying something in there isn't dead. Not fully. Then we heard it. A crackling sound. Like a distorted voice coming from one of the old speakers near the entrance. We turned and stared. A loud click. Then static. Then, a voice. Control, test 3, integrity breach at 1300 hours, shut it down, shut it. Then silence again. Josh stepped back. Did that come from the intercom? The whole station's unplugged, I said. We saw the wires ripped out. We headed back inside, cautiously. I don't even know why. Curiosity? Or maybe just the awful feeling that something wanted us to see. The halls had changed. That's the part one haven't mentioned yet. I swear on everything, the layout was different. A corridor that had led to an office now opened into a dark stairwell. A filing cabinet was gone. There were new signs on the walls, in Russian, that hadn't been there before. And the clocks? They were ticking again. Backwards. Every single one. Tick. 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 Backwards, steady, dragging time behind them. We found a small communications room near the east wing. A dusty desk. Shelves lined with outdated radio equipment. Old reel-to-reel recorders. Leah opened a metal drawer and pulled out a magnetic tape labeled Test 11 to 1959. We stared at it. Josh found a player still hooked into a battery pack. If this thing works, I'll buy everyone dinner. It whirred to life. The tape hissed. A slow voice emerged. Subject entering phase 3. Visual anomalies confirmed. Time displacement is increasing. Observers experiencing memory drift. Repeat, memory drift. We cannot stop the signal. We are only receiving. Time is recursive. Time is recursive. Click. We sat there in silence. What the hell is phase 3? Mark whispered. Leah didn't answer. She was staring at her phone again. Guys, the signal bar just disappeared. It says, searching for network, but we had reception 10 minutes ago. Josh moved toward the door. We need to get out of here. Now. We rushed back outside. But the forest had changed, too. The path we used to get in? Gone. Completely vanished. Trees that had clearly been cleared now stood like they'd been growing for 50 years. The barbed wire fence? Buried under vines. No sign of our footprints. Just thick, undisturbed earth. This can't be, Leah stammered. We started walking, any direction that seemed familiar. We kept turning back. We tried heading downhill, then uphill. Same trees. Same damn pile of branches. It was like the forest was folding in on itself. Mark kicked a rock in frustration. We're walking in circles. We're not, I said, but time is. And then it happened. Josh was ahead of us, maybe 10 feet. He turned around to say something, and in the blink of an eye, he was gone. Like, erased. Like someone cut a frame from a film reel and spliced it wrong. No scream. No flash. No wind. Just gone. We all screamed. Josh? I sprinted forward. Nothing. No sign of a fall, no broken branches, no footprints beyond where he'd last stepped. Leah fell to her knees, clutching her head. Mark backed into a tree, frozen. "What the hell is going on?" he shouted. Then, his watch started ticking again. But this time, it was showing 1973. Josh walked into the hallway, and walked right back in from behind us. But he had no memory of leaving. We were still shouting his name, screaming it, really, when we heard footsteps behind us. Soft, slow, crunching footsteps on dead pine needles. I turned around and nearly dropped to the ground. It was Josh. Standing there like nothing happened. Blank expression. Breathing steady. He looked at us like we were the ones who'd vanished. "Why are you guys yelling?" he asked. We froze. Mark whispered, "You disappeared." Josh frowned. "What?" "No, I didn't. I just turned the corner, right there." He pointed behind him, toward a hallway that didn't exist before. Leah grabbed his wrist. "Josh. Look at your watch." He did. He went pale. 1972, he muttered. "What the hell does that mean? Why does it say?" And that's when I knew something had broken. Not just in the forest. Not just in the building. But in time itself. We decided, probably stupidly, to go back inside. The logic was, if Josh had just phased out of time or something, maybe we could find out where he'd been. We entered the hallway again, the same hallway we'd already explored. But now, it twisted left where it used to go straight. The floor tiles were different. Like a different era. Leah muttered, "This building's reconfiguring. Like it's remembering itself wrong." Josh trailed behind us, eyes darting to every flicker of light. We turned a corner, and Mark stopped cold. "Guys, look." At the far end of the hallway was a door. Metal, sealed tight. And scrawled across it in black marker was, "You were here before." We exchanged looks. Nobody moved. A faint clicking sound echoed through the corridor. Like something winding up. We pushed open the door. Inside was a small observation room with a round window. Behind the glass, a dark chamber, walls covered in analog clocks. Hundreds of them. All ticking. All wrong. Some had no hands. Others spun continuously. One pulsed like a heartbeat, every tick echoing in the soles of my shoes. The room buzzed with an electric tension. Then I noticed the desk. A VHS tape. Labeled with nothing but today's date, August 17, 1986. Leah hesitated. "That's today." Mark picked it up. "Where would we even play it?" Josh pointed. "Over there." VCR built into the wall. We slid the tape in and hit play. The screen flickered. Then showed us. Walking up the stairs into the control room. Exactly as we had done an hour ago. Same clothes. Same voices. Even the same joke Mark had made about Cold War ghosts. Word for word. We watched, horrified, as the footage continued, until it reached a point that hadn't happened yet. Us entering the communications room. Listening to the recording. Running outside. Josh disappearing. Then. It showed something we hadn't seen. A shadow, not one of us, standing behind Mark as he walked into the looping room. We paused the tape. No one said a word. Then we heard the hum again. That deep, warping vibration that sank straight into your ribs. It was coming from everywhere this time, not just the dish. Josh leaned into the glass. You guys see that? One of the clocks on the far wall, the one with no hands, was glowing faintly. Its surface pulsed, like it was breathing. Suddenly, Mark stumbled backward. Something's in here. He pointed to the ceiling. I looked up. And there, curled in the corner like a shadow made solid, was a figure. Its limbs were too long, its fingers spread wide across the ceiling panels like spider legs. No face, just a hole where the head should be. Time warped around it, the clocks near it bent inward, their ticking stuttering and repeating. I swear it looked straight at us. Even without eyes. Leah yanked the door. Go. We bolted back into the hallway, but now it wasn't the same. The signs were in Russian again. Old Russian. Like Tsar-era script. We ran, breath sharp in our lungs, doors slamming behind us on their own. Josh shouted, "This place is looping, resetting itself like a tape." We rounded another corner, and there was the observation room again. Same VHS. Same clocks. Same desk. We had looped. I stopped running. My hands shook. I think we're stuck in some kind of feedback loop, I said. Every time we see the entity, every time the shadow comes close, time resets. Or fractures. Mark was pacing. So what do we do? Avoid looking at it? Fight it? Leah pointed to the tape again. What if that's the key? What if we fast forward past the loop? Josh picked up the tape and examined the back. It's warm. Like it was just recorded. That's when the intercom buzzed again. Observer 4 has breached containment. Loop integrity compromised, test proceeding. Phase 4 initiating. Click. We didn't know what Phase 4 was. But it sounded like it would be worse. We tried to find our way out, again, but the radar station was different again. The main hallway split into two. One path led downward, past rooms labeled Specimen Records. The other curved upward, toward what looked like a medical wing. We were trapped inside a building that kept remembering itself wrong. Warping its own past. The clocks now showed random years. One said 1913. Another, 2042. Time was no longer passing. It was folding. We finally took shelter in a room lined with monitors. Old CRT screens showed static, but one flickered to life. A hallway. Ours. From moments ago. And in the corner, the shadow again. But this time, it wasn't on the ceiling. It was standing in the middle of the hallway, beckoning. You ever feel like you're being rewound, like time's taping over itself and you're stuck in the static? That's exactly what it felt like. Like someone hit rewind on reality, but only halfway. We could still think, still move, but everything else? It kept flickering. The light outside the window stuttered like a busted projector. 1 second we saw snow. The next, green leaves. Then fog. Then night. Then back again. The shadow was gone from the monitor. But the hum? That terrible, pulsing hum had returned. Deeper now. Slower. More rhythmic. And worse? It was in sync with our heartbeats. I felt it pounding in my chest, not just heard it. I felt it. Like a speaker buried under my ribs. A deep thump every few seconds. Tum. 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 Leah turned to me, pale. It's inside us. Whatever this thing is, it's sinking to us. Mark clutched the wall, dizzy. We need to do something before it figures us out. But I think it already had. We moved fast. We wanted out. We wanted away, but no matter where we went, the building kept changing. Hallways looped. Stairs doubled back. Rooms mirrored themselves. Josh tried drawing arrows on the walls with a marker. 5 minutes later, the arrows were pointing the other way. At one point, we opened a door expecting a stairwell, and found a room that hadn't been there before. A long, sterile chamber lit by flickering blue lights. At the far end, rows and rows of ticking clocks. All perfectly in sync. All ticking backward. We didn't want to go in. We did anyway. Inside, the clocks weren't just ticking. They were counting. Each face showed a different time, but each was slowly, steadily counting down. One said 1 minute and 3 seconds. Another said 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Another, 6 seconds. Then it hit 0. And the clock vanished. It didn't stop ticking. It didn't explode. It just disappeared. No sound. No flash. Gone. Leah whispered, "What happens when they all hit 0? Josh answered flatly, "I think that's when it breaks again." That's when the voice came back. But this time, not from the intercom. It came from the walls. "You are observed. You are recorded. You are not real. Recalibration required." The lights flickered violently, and for a split second, we weren't in the radar station anymore. We were in a field, open, snow-covered, beneath the stars. The radar dish loomed above, silhouetted against a purple sky filled with lines of light. Like glitches in the night. Then we snapped back. And the clocks were all reset. Josh began muttering. Not just talking, repeating phrases before he said them. Like an echo before the voice. He'd say, "We need to go left." Then 2 seconds later, he'd say it again, "We need to go left." Like his words were looping before they left his mouth. Mark panicked. He's caught in it. He's slipping. We tried to talk to him, to snap him out of it, but Josh just kept muttering the same sentences. Like something had hijacked his timeline. Desperate, we ran back toward the control room. That's when the radar dish let out a sound I'll never forget. Not a mechanical creak. Not a transmission ping. A howl. Mechanical, yes, but alive. Hungry. Vibrating the air like a storm was building inside the earth. Mark covered his ears. "It's the dish. It's calling something." Leah shouted over the sound, "What if it's not broadcasting?" "What do you mean?" She stared up at it, eyes wide. "What if it's receiving?" We made it to the main chamber. The same room where it all started. But now, it was different again. Bigger. Like the space itself had stretched. Wires hung from the ceiling like veins. Old monitors lit up with flickering green numbers that made no sense, dates that hadn't happened yet. Times that never will. Josh collapsed in the corner, muttering nonsense. Mark grabbed a metal pole and swung it at the radar console. Sparks flew. The hum stuttered. And then, right in front of us, the wall repaired itself. Metal resealed. Sparks reversed into wires. Like we were watching it undo damage in real time. Mark backed away. "Did you see that?" "The building doesn't want us to leave," I said. "It resets itself when we fight back." Then the lights cut out. We froze. Nothing but breathing. And that deep hum. Then, click, an intercom speaker came to life. But it wasn't just static this time. It was our voices. What do you mean it's receiving? It's syncing to us. Josh, he's slipping. Every sentence we'd said in the last 10 minutes, replayed. Like someone had been listening. Recording. And now it was playing us back. Leah was shaking. We're part of the loop now. Then she turned toward me. Her eyes widened. There's something behind you. I turned slowly. And outside the window, the one overlooking the treetops, we saw everything frozen. Birds suspended mid-flight. Leaves hovering in mid-air. Branches frozen mid-sway. Even the fog had stopped moving. Everything outside the radar station had stopped. But we hadn't. The world outside the radar station stopped. But something inside kept moving. We stood frozen. I don't mean figuratively, I mean literally everything around us had stopped. The trees. The clouds. The air. It was like a single frame of reality had been paused, except we weren't in the freeze. We were moving. Breathing. Trapped in motion. Josh had gone silent, slumped in the corner like a broken doll. Leah sat beside him, whispering his name over and over. But he wasn't responding. Just blinking in a slow, mechanical rhythm. And then the radar dish rotated again. One final creak. Then it stopped. Dead center. Aimed directly at the control room window. "Guys," I said, my voice low. "I don't think the dish was ever meant to send signals." Mark stared at it, eyes wide. "Then what's it doing?" Leah answered before I could. "It's receiving." She stood up slowly, her voice trembling. "This whole place, the radar station, it's a receiver for something that isn't from here. It's been picking up something else. Something outside time." We stared at the frozen world through the glass. No wind. No sky movement. Just static reality. Then, mid-sentence, Leah vanished. One blink. Gone. No scream. No sound. Just a soft crunch, like dust collapsing. And on the floor, where she'd been sitting, was her boot, aged and cracked. Mold growing along the heel. Like it had been left there for decades. I dropped to my knees. "No, no, no, Leah." I touched the boot. It disintegrated. Mark backed away, muttering, "She didn't vanish. She was taken." Like Josh almost was. I looked at Josh again. His mouth was moving. But it wasn't his voice coming out. "We are the break. The gap between clocks. The eye inside the tick. You let us in." Josh looked up, straight at me. But his eyes weren't his. They glitched. Flickered. Like old film burning in reverse. Mark tried to shake him, yelling, "Snap out of it." But Josh smiled, not like Josh, and whispered, "It's recalibrating. You'll hear it. You'll feel it. You'll become it." Suddenly, all the lights in the room turned red. The radar dish outside spun one final time. The console behind us beeped. A mechanical voice echoed from the speaker. Recalibration initiated. Human error detected. Perception loop unstable. Josh stood. And walked straight into the far wall. No resistance. His body passed through it like fog. Mark and I stood frozen. Did he just? I didn't finish the sentence. Because the wall was changing. The paint peeled away. The metal behind it breathed. A new room appeared. One that wasn't there before. It wasn't just a hallway. It was a mirror of the control room. A perfect fractured copy. The radar console was there, twisted, rusted, but still glowing. And behind it stood me. A duplicate. Wearing my clothes. Same bruises on my hands. But older. Tired. Eyes hollow. He looked up at me and whispered, "You're still inside it, aren't you?" I stepped forward. "What, are you?" He laughed softly. "A version. A fracture. You've looped so many times, you don't even know which thread you're in." Then he pointed at my watch. I looked down. 2:03 p.m. Same as every other clock in this place. But the second hand was no longer moving backward. It was shaking. Mark screamed. I turned just in time to see him being pulled backward, into the wall. The same way Leah disappeared. I ran. I don't even know where. Through corridors that folded, rooms that echoed back my own footsteps, staircases that curved into themselves. I ran until I saw it. The front gate. Exactly where we'd entered. The barbed wire fence. The same broken warning sign. But everything was wrong. The trees were taller. The air smelled of mildew and rot. The sky was a flickering gray. The radar dish loomed behind me, frozen. I stumbled out, my lungs burning. And then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was standing outside the compound. Alone. No Josh. No Mark. No Leah. Just silence. My watch was still ticking. Still 2:03 p.m. I left that place. But I think part of me didn't. It's been 3 weeks since the radar station. At least, I think it's been 3 weeks. Time's been off. Not in a, wow, the day flew by, kind of way. I mean literally off. Clocks freeze when I walk into rooms. Lights flicker when I get anxious. Sometimes my reflection doesn't match my movements exactly. And my phone alarms always ring at exactly 2:03 p.m. No matter when I set them. That place didn't just mess with my head. It marked me. I haven't told anyone. How could I? Hey, my friends vanished into a Cold War time loop and now I think I'm glitching. Yeah, no thanks. But every night, I wake up right before 2:03. My digital clock stutters, blinking like it's buffering reality. And every night, I hear the faint tick-tick-tick of analog clocks somewhere nearby. I don't own any. Then things started appearing. The first was a boot on my doorstep. Caked in dirt. Molded at the edges. Leah's boot. I recognized it instantly, the one she'd worn that day. But it was aged. Like it had been buried for decades. I left it outside. Next day, it was in my living room. The next thing was the radio. I have this old AM/FM set I picked up at a thrift shop ages ago. Never worked properly. Until now. It turns itself on around 2:03 every afternoon. Static. Then voices. Not random ones. Ours. You ever feel like time's taping over itself? What if it's receiving? Josh, look at your watch. Our voices. Playing in fragments, like someone is sifting through the reel of that day. I even heard my own scream from when Leah vanished. It was followed by laughter. Low, mechanical. Like a broken tape loop trying to sound human. I tried revisiting the site. Drove 5 hours. Same path, same trail. Nothing. The forest's still there. Same pine trees. Same elevation. But the station is gone. No dish. No fence. No building. Just an empty clearing with trees too young to be 40 years old. I stood there for an hour, waiting for something, anything, to move. I even screamed their names. Nothing but wind. I turned to leave. And noticed my watch. 2:03 p.m. Now I carry it everywhere. The watch, I mean. It's become the only constant. Everywhere I go, it tries to rewind. I've watched the second-hand jitter back and forth like it's fighting something. Sometimes, I black out for just a second. Then I'll find myself in a different room. Or with different clothes. Or with a text message I don't remember sending. 2 days ago, I recorded a video, just a test, to check if I was losing it. I set my phone up, hit record, and said my name, the date, and time, June 12, 1986, 2:03 p.m. Except it wasn't 1986. And when I played the video back, the timestamp said August 17th. The exact day we found the station. But here's the worst part. In the video, I wasn't alone. There was someone behind me. Just, standing. At the edge of the frame. Leaning in. Watching. Last night, the hum came back. Same frequency. Same rhythm. Slow and deliberate, like it's trying to remind me it's still here. I unplugged everything. The sound didn't stop. It was coming from inside my walls. I banged on them. Screamed. Ripped open drywall. Nothing but dust and air. Until I found a gear. An old, rusted mechanical cog. Like something from the station's radar dish. Sitting neatly inside the wall cavity, like it had always been there. I've tried to sleep. But every time I close my eyes, I see the clocks. Hundreds of them. All ticking. All watching. One night, I swear I woke up and my ceiling was covered in them. Ticking backward. I blinked, and they were gone. But I could still hear them. They say trauma imprints on the brain. But this? This isn't trauma. It's residue. A stain. A loop that never fully closed. I think we opened something back there. Or worse, we became part of it. Time isn't broken in that place. It's broken in me. Hey, guys, that's the end of this story. What did you think? Did it creep you out, make you think, or remind you of something strange from your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one and love hearing what you're feeling. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe for more eerie tales like this one. Hit that bell so you don't miss the next video, because you never know what's lurking around the corner. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.